Hello guys, my name is Michael and this is the second tutorial and the last one of course of the aspect frame. And I noticed something which I didn't know, because like I told you, I'm not sure about this widget also, how exactly behaves. Maybe because I'm missing something. Anyway, we have here an aspect frame created with the my frame. Everything we set it to 0, and also we set the last parameter to true, so that the aspect ratio it is ignored. So I'm going to compile it and run it, and now you can see basically how it behaves. Nothing special, as you can see, expand and so on. Okay, now let us talk about properties a little bit, and then you will see something with me together. As you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This means these properties you cannot through this property you cannot set a name, at least so I see now here. So this means I don't know, maybe GObject set. Let me try something. I don't know if it's working. So on our frame I want to set the label to hello. Okay, I want to see if that works. If not, there's no problem. It is also not an object of our tutorial. I want to see if I can set this label to hello. Okay, it works. As you can see, our new label now, it is called hello, and it is not called frame or my frame anymore. It is working. I'm going to drop this thing here because we don't need it. Before we do some change with the properties, let us go back a little bit up here, and we saw that we had two functions, the GtkAspectFrame, which is great, and once that you have it, you can set it with GtkAspectFrame set. As you can see, it takes 5 parameters. Those 5 parameters are the frame itself, those 2 alignments, and then the ratio, and of course the obey child. So basically, after you create it, then you can also set it, set aspect frame, and we are going to say set. Of course, we need to GtkAspectFrame cast, so our frame. The next one we are going to set it to 1 this time, 0.0, and then the next one we are going to point it to also to 1.0, and the ratio we are going to set it to 0, and of course to false, because we already have it to I'm going to set to 1 and to false. So basically we are going to change these 4 things with these 4 new things here. I'm going to compile it and run it, and as you can see, it works, or at least so like you see it here. We said the X alignment should be 1. This means right alignment, not in the middle, not left. The other alignment still doesn't work. Basically, only it's no matter which kind of request size you change, you set it to your button not working. But if you're working with CSS, then the story becomes different, and now you can see it looks a little bit different because now the button is smaller. Anyway, it is smaller because also because of the size of the frame label right here, but anyway, it is smaller. This is not important now for us, so this means what it is important is this function. Okay, now I'm going to comment out this function, and I want to show that I just discovered today something. Today, just after I finished the other tutorial, I was checking again the documentation of this aspect frame, and now let's see. GAspect GObject set our frame, And then we are going to work with properties. So properties are those 4. This means the first one, we are going to take this one, and we are going to set now from 0 to 1. And of course it should work. It should move at the right side now. It is moved. Okay, it works. So I'm putting it to 0.5 to be in the middle. The same thing goes from the next one, which is also 0.5, which also work fine. And now let us set the name. We are not going to set the name again because you already saw. What is important are those things, those two things. So this means we are going to set this one to true. Now, because this one is set to true, basically we are going to use this. Even if it's set to 0, we have an aspect ratio now, and works fine. Even if it's not so easy to see it, it's there and it works. Okay, now watch what I discovered. I was watching again its documentation. I saw this. I saw that this property ratio, which we try to set it with these values right here, and we saw that it's not working because the GtkAspectFrame knew, even if it says that the ratio should be a G float, we are passing a G float, it's not working. Okay, so basically when we did something like this, you remember, we got an error. We had to force it to be a float and so on. Now watch what I discovered. I discovered that ratio, you can still set it to this, based on the fact that I remember when I was told you what happens. Let me comment it. What happens if you use the wrong things, like 1 instead of 1.0. Remember those segmentation faults? You get them all the time. You see, segmentation fault. Why? Because of this story. It has to be a float or a double. Now, by remembering me this thing, I said, what the heck, it should work. 0.0001, it should work because it needs a float, so basically it forces the ratio to take this float. Now watch. I'm going to compile it and run it, and you see, works fine. I get no error, I get nothing, and works fine. This means now if I set it to the next one, it says between 0.0001 and 1.0, and then when I set it now to this, of course it works fine. No, it's not. It's not gonna work. Whoa, segmentation fault. Hallelujah. Why? Well, let's see. Value inf of type G float is invalid out of range for the property ratio. So why it's out of range? Of course, because the guys, they made a mistake here, a small mistake. It should be 1.0000 and not 1000. So basically, I need to use a dot here to make it work. And as you can see, it works fine, or at least it works fine. You see how big it is? You see, let me go a little back to see something. Let me put it back to 0.5, 0.5 and 0.5. So let us see how it looks like. As you can see, we have the same space here, 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 and here, almost the same. I make it bigger, it's almost okay, so it's the same, it works fine. So basically, this is when you put 1. But when I choose the other one, this one, I still not understand which changes takes. I mean, you notice something here, the space here, the space here, and the space here, it is also the same. So basically, even if we pass the right values here, the way how they told us here, it still doesn't work. So to make it work, or to make it to see some difference, then you need to do something like 5.0, which is nothing, has nothing to do with these things. Okay? So now when I compile it and run it, works fine, or at least does something, or maybe not. This is again something new for me. You see, this thing over here, set it to 5.0, does nothing. What happens if I pass 4 zeros and now still does nothing? So what the heck? If I comment out this part here, okay, sorry guys, my mistake. Now this I got to admit it, because it says, let's go back. If true, retro is ignored. Okay, so basically we are going to set it to false. So now we have 1, so that the ratio works, and now the space here and here and here and here, you see it. Okay, and now if I put now 0 and 1, how they said, I just get only an arrow because we need this, which is not, of course it is. Okay, it's not working, so I'm quite and this is just because we set it to true, to false, because if I set to true, it is ignored, it does compile. You see, it is not, it does compile, because being ignored and not set it, nothing happens. But if you set it to false, this means that ratio, which you have it here between this and this, basically does a lot of creepy things. So to make it work, you have 0.0 or 0.1. Now you get a lot of other creepy things. So 0.0, this one is the only one which works. With 0 it's still not working. What the heck? So basically it's worked nothing, or what? 1, and this one works. Creepy. So everything beyond 1 is not working. 1.5, it will also not work. I think it's not working. Let me see. Oh, maybe it's working. Yeah, it's working. I see no changes, but it works. The changes, you see them only after you set it to something bigger, like 5.0. Now when I compile it and run it, you see it works. Now basically we have something to work with. So what we did learn today, I don't know, we learned a good thing that we can set these values with the GtkAspectFrame set, where we can change it, we can change them, and we saw that it works. Or we saw that we can set some values by setting their properties. Also we saw that we can use new things like a label, and then we can give it a name, hello, so that we basically have a different name if you want later to change the name which was already set. Now it is set to hello. We saw this thing works too, and we saw that when we've set the obey child to false, these values which are here are definitely not working. So this is very, very important for us to know. Why? I don't know. But you saw that we tried everything, and we saw that the one which defaults like here works. Of course, it's not 1, it's 1.0, because you know if you put only 1, even that one give you a segmentation fault. Okay, just remember, don't play with properties if you don't know what to do in a big programs. Just remember, a float is a float, a double is a double, and integer is a integer. Okay, so I think now finally we covered everything, because there's not so much about this GtkAspectFrame, but you saw how you can use it, you know how you can use it, and use it if you think that you need to use it. Because me, I just show you things which I understand myself, I share with you. So this is everything which I understand about this aspect frame. It's kind of crazy thing here, but it's here, you have it, you can work with it, use it, live with it. Okay, so that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.